Humans of the Cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we officially have all of Phantom Nightmare revealed as of yesterday, and because of that, I'm able to actually do like a full-on look at the set. And so today I'm talking about the must-have cards from the set, the maybe should-have cards on the from the set, depending on what you like to play, some stuff to keep in mind, maybe some stuff to pick up long-term, and then some stuff that you need to wait on specifically, because they definitely have stuff coming later on. So kind of going down the line here in terms of what you got to do. Keep in mind, we are a more competitively oriented channel, so this stuff applies more so to that. If you think anything's cool, feel free to grab anything you want, but I'm specifically talking about how it pertains to playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! So let's get into this thing. Let's just start from the top. Let's start from the must-haves. There's not a ton of must-haves in this set, in my opinion. The only must-haves in this set are obviously Promethean Princess. It is what it is. This card's going to be probably the chase card in the set. I've been seeing pre-sale, though, around like 45. Honestly, not terrible for sure. So that certainly helps. But yeah, Princess is cool. I think you're going to want to have a copy. I think the biggest thing about this card is it doesn't even have to be played in a fire deck. As long as you can like get to a fire, which sometimes that even just means making a generic link 2 that's a fire before getting into this, means that this card is just going to get you extra grind game, extra interruption, and just make better use of free materials. And I think we'll see that across the game. So even if you're not planning on playing a specific fire deck, this is still probably a card I want in my binder going forward. The other must-have, in my opinion, is Iron Thunder. I know this is like a weird one, but this is more of like a side deck option, potential main deck option for like very specific decks like Dinomorphia and the like. But the biggest thing here is this just becomes like 3 more Solemn Judgment, kind of, with an extra little bit of utility. Now, it does get punished by certain stuff. There's no denying that, but that's okay, because I think overall what it offers is still worth it. So this card's really cool. I definitely recommend it. It's a good just going first side deck card, and even for some decks, even main deckable. I think this is definitely a card I want in my binder. So those just kind of apply generically almost no matter what deck you're playing. They can definitely, you can look at them and find a way to wiggle them in. And so those I would pick up if you're a competitive player no matter what. And then we get to the kind of more fringe stuff. Depends on what decks you plan on playing, what decks you have your eyes on. Let's talk about the meta stuff right now. So going into the next format, as soon as the set drops, I think all of these cards have some factor one way or another meta-wise, and so it just depends if these are decks you're planning on playing. The first one is Poplar, and this is the one that will probably be the most popular, pun intended, because Snake Eye's going to be everywhere. The Sinful Spoils engine is going to be everywhere. This engine is so incredibly strong. This card is so incredibly strong. And so, basically, you're probably going to want it. If you're going to play top-level decks and you're going to play one of these fire decks with this engine, you have to have this card. Probably at least 2 copies and go from there. You could also throw Dramatic Chase in there. This is a card that won't come up in every build of Snake Eye, but there are certainly some builds where, like, if maybe you're like getting to this and already had access to original Sinful Spoils, then you could search this as your secondary search target that then at least gets you more value off of your Poplar. So cool stuff. Not going to come on every build, but still a cool card. Next up, you have Walls of the Imperial Tomb. This is the new Horus card. Basically, what it is more than anything, does 2 things for the deck. Boosting consistency. This plus Terraforming gives Horus now 4 extra copies of Imsati, which is the best starter in the deck. So way more consistent. And the other thing is it helps with this engine being really, really weak to like quick back row removal, right? Before 1 MST on, once you put some names in Horus names in grave, meant they cleared King Sarcophagus and now all your cards are dead. Whereas with this card now, if you started with this and then got to King Sarcophagus, if they remove King Sarcophagus, you still have this, and this counts as King Sarcophagus in the field zone, so you can just go ahead and reborn all your Horus monsters anyway. So it makes it harder for your opponent to deal with, the engine more consistent, and we've been seeing that engine around a good bit. So keep an eye on this one. Kind of in the same vein as the Snake Eye thing, though, they also got a new like boss monster. In that, like, I don't expect this card to see that much play, but if you're playing like a bigger Horus engine and you feel like this card offers like a cool piece of utility for the deck, then you can play it. But I don't plan on playing it, even if I do play the Horus engine in a certain deck. I'll tell you that right now. But it's still not a bad card. It's just pretty specific, and I don't know if I want to play like kind of another extra brick for the engine for for that utility. It just depends how much it comes up. All right, next up we have the Black Goat Laughs. This card was previously known as Rumpelteufel, which I love because it was a really funny name, but I actually really think this name is really cool. It's a cool name. This is Labyrinth. This is just Labyrinth support. They just got transaction rollback. Now they're getting this. This deck is like cooking right now. This deck's about to be really good. It can basically declare a card name, and your opponent like can't activate that card's effect, any card with that card's effects this turn, and it can do it from grave. So even going second, opening this with either Stovey Torby or Chandra now becomes a hand trap while also setting up your engine. So very scary, very powerful. Definitely keep an eye out for this card. Enigmaster Packbit. This card is just literally Centurion support. It just doesn't have Centurion in the name. It basically, all it does is it keeps putting monsters on the field into the spell and trap zones as continuous traps. So there you go. I mean, that's basically all it does, but the deck didn't have a ton of like Synchro 8 utility, and I think this card's a pretty good removal tool to be able to make use of, and I think this will probably be an easy one of in most Centurion builds going forward. And then the last thing for the meta stuff from this set is Voiceless Voice. Straight up. I think this deck's pretty good. I think this deck's probably going to sit around in between like the 6th and 10th best deck in the game, more likely than top 5. But I still think that's worth enough mentioning to talk about, especially since the entire deck is basically dropping in this set. It's a really cool ritual-based deck that makes use of like Saravis, old classic Saravis, and a new version. They do some cool stuff. They have some really cool combo lines. They're pretty consistent. So definitely check them out if that sounds cool to you. But yeah, what I like here is that this, even though these decks are kind of scary, I kind of like that Konami's giving a little bit of everything support, right? Like Snake Eye gets the big buff with Poplar. The Horus engine gets a little buff to keep contending with the Snake Eye engine. Labyrinth gets the new trap that helps them do better on top of getting the transaction rollback as well. Centurion gets a little buff for their utility in the extra deck, and then a whole new archetype. Like, we're getting a lot of little things from a bunch of different angles instead of like just one archetype getting dropped like a tier and just wrecking everything. We're getting a bunch of stuff from different angles, which is really cool. Okay, so that's the meta section. Now we move to the Rogue Now section. These are decks that I think are Rogue right now. If you really think these are cool and you're more of like a Rogue style player, not a meta player, go ahead and pick up these cores. I think Raid Raptor definitely falls into that category. I've heard good things about it. It just seems to be one of those decks that just not many people like it. They either don't like the way it plays, they don't like the aesthetic of the archetype. For whatever reason, nobody really wants to play it, but I think we'll see some players pick it up, and they'll do well with it. So I think it can work. Plants. I don't think plants are dead. I definitely don't think they're meta, but I do think with the aroma cards, we could maybe see a new version that, because of these cards, are able to maybe supplement what they lost on the ban list. They still have Aroma Seraphie Jasmine. That's a huge leg up. They still, I believe, can do the one-card combos. They just don't have like grindability with it, and they can't repeat them, but still pretty good nonetheless. Goblin Biker. Goblin Biker almost made the wait list to say, hold on, you can pick them up now, but I wouldn't worry about playing them because they're getting their best support later. Except we've already seen their next wave of support, and it stinks. So go ahead and play them. I actually think they're okay. They're just probably outclassed overall by a lot of the better decks in the game. But I think they're cool. I like their aesthetic, their design. Hopefully they get one more wave in the next core set after Legacy of Destruction, but yeah, hopefully. Earthbound Fusion, cool card for them, honestly. Just a pretty good card. It's a quick play fusion that helps you play around certain interactions with specifically the Earthbound Runic deck. Seems to be the best build. I actually last night watched Joshua Schmidt's video on the on his new build with it. Looked really cool. Looks like a fun deck, and this card may actually have a home in there as well. We'll have to see. I think the downside for this card is I don't know if it's super searchable in the deck. If it was way more searchable, then it'd be obviously way more interesting, but still, it's a decent card. It could come up in there, and I think that deck's already in rogue deck status, so had to throw it in here. And I think the last card we have here for The Rogue Now stuff is the EMP Meow Mine. This card's pretty cool. This card doesn't apply to any particular one deck, but any deck that plays Link 2 monsters consistently, like this card has a place, right? It jumps on the field really easily if there just is a Link monster on the field. And then if it's in grave and you control Link 2 and it's removed from the field, it's sent to the graveyard or banished, you can banish this card and then just basically bounce a card your opponent controls. So it's a simple extender, but if you just put it in grave, it just adds an extra bounce to your board. And so if you SP, it banishes itself, boom, this card bounces another card. If you IP, link 2 cards off, boom, triggers Meow Mine, gets another card bounced. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool utility. I'm pretty interested in it in a couple of decks. Sprite seems to be another one where this card could be pretty good, and a couple of others, but definitely keep an eye out for it for sure. That takes us to our spicy cards. These are kind of one-off cards that don't pertain to a particular deck right now, but they do have some potential, and I think like in some specific strategies they could come up, but it's just stuff to like keep in mind. Like these tend to be like commons pretty commonly, or super rares, nothing too high rarity. So I'll like scoop them, put them in the binder, and just wait, and then when they come up, you'll already got them ready. First one here is Swallow's Calorie. This is just a new search spell for Winged Beasts. It's a quick play that like basically tributes a Winged Beast from hand or field, and then adds another Winged Beast from deck with the same level. So particularly this rings to for Lyrilisk for me, being able to tribute any one, and then not only search any Lyrilisk you want, because sometimes you want like a particular one from the deck, but you can also search like the Tri-Brigade Nerval. Also tributing Nerval triggers his search to get then another card. It's a really good utility. And then even stuff like Diddy Crow is a level 1 Winged Beast that you can get off of this. So cool utility there. There could be some other Winged Beast decks that come up down the line, but that's the big one that rang for me. I think that card's pretty cool. Terrors of the Afterroot, another Terrors card. Pretty cool. Its interruption isn't as strong as I think Underroot or Overroot, whichever the good one was, that's seen play in Labyrinth. But it has a cool thing that not only does it do what it does, but then it also does this. You can banish this card from your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, to target a level 1 monster in your grave, shuffle it into the deck. Then you can set a Terrors of the Underroot, Overroot, or another Afterroot from your deck. So it's not only like just an interruption, but then it's also just getting you another card in the grind. It's a little bit slow, and traps are already slow to begin with, so like you got to keep that in mind. But still, there's definitely could be something here down the line for sure. All right, Fish Lamp. This is a cool fusion card, or a synchro card. Sorry, it's pretty good. And as soon as this came out, we said goatee. Whoa, is this card break goatee? That's what everybody said when they saw it, because it's just like a really good fish synchro that gives you a bunch of free tokens. And then anybody who actually played goatee went like, guys, calm down. This card actually doesn't even work with like most of the lines. So if somebody can figure it out, then that's one thing, and maybe it actually gets goatee there. But otherwise, we have to just wait and see if like a fish deck comes up down the line that gets this card working. Master of Ham, funny card. I don't even expect it to be too good, but like if we have a way to get this guy out for free, like instant fusion, and then like let's say for example we get like really good sub-terror support, being able to just like instant fusion for this guy, and then he just gets any flip monster from deck face down, it's pretty good. I mean, it's just a +1 at that point. So we'll keep it in mind, you know, if something like that comes up. XYZ Force, pretty cool Exceed card. It doesn't have Armor Exceed in the name, so I don't think it's searchable off the new Armor Exceed cards, but I believe there are still cards that search XYZ cards, period. Pretty good card, though. I mean, if you're just able to, you know, you're able to, like, add any Exceed card from deck to hand, and then basically summon an Exceed monster that's attached to another one back. So, pretty decent value off of this card. Definitely something to keep in mind for those decks. Tricorn, the Cacophonous Concert. Cool card. Interesting little Fiend Tuner Extender. Level 2. If a card you control is destroyed, it summons itself, and then you can actually add a monster from your grave back to the hand pretty easily with it. So, interesting card. I thought about this, like, is this weirdly, like, supposed to be Unchained support, with maybe them getting hit on the ban list, give them some, like, other cards maybe supplement in. That's also why they also released Berserk Archfiend. It's a 6, it's an extender. It's just way worse than Shavara for sure. I think the biggest problem with this card is it only pops monsters, not back row. So if you open it with like one of the traps, it's not a play. You have to open it with monsters, but still an interesting card nonetheless that could maybe see play in those types of builds. And then we get to the final thing. These are the weight cards. These are cards I would say, like, if you think these are cool, you can absolutely play whatever you want. But if you want to play them at their peak, I would pick them up now and maybe wait for their next wave to come out. So, Spirit of Yubel. Yubel has a cool wave in this first core set. They have, like, some cool setup stuff. But they get 2 new cards in the next set, and they're both really, really helpful. They help the deck so much. They basically allow you to play the Unchained engine and actually end on, like, 2 more interactions than you ever were before. Magis Spectre, for this one, you're waiting for Kieran to get him banned. It just, the stuff doesn't make sense, and the stuff is so much better if Konami just unbans Kieran. Ashen. I'm gonna say it again, and it's probably a fool's errand to even say this, but they got 7 cards to start. Some of their stuff is interesting, but they're not all the way there as an archetype. If in the next 7 card wave, which they are getting in the next core set, Konami actually capitalizes and gets this archetype the rest of the way there, this could be at least a cool rogue deck. But Konami's failed to do that like 4 times in a row with the TCG exclusive archetypes. So I don't have that much faith in it, but we'll see. Momento, this card's actually pretty nice for them. It's like a kind of unsung card for them that, like, when you actually go through the combos, you realize this card actually adds quite a bit of extra oomph to the deck. But they're getting the new Fusion and Fusion spell in the next core set, and that's really what's going to push the deck forward and potentially get it into rogue status. So I would wait for that, and then maybe even another wave of support after that. Morphosis. This card is a wait, not for anything specific, but because it's just another one of these spell cards. We got Duality at one point. We got Fusion Deployment. We got Fusion Redeployment. All these cards that we get, it feels like we get one in every core set now. It's just like a spell. It's like a pretty interesting extender, but we just need to find a home for it. Right, we saw Duality find a home in Joshua Schmidt's build of the Bestial Runic, like branded deck. And Metamorphosis just needs like a deck like that, basically. But it's a cool extender. We just need somebody to find a home in it. So if somebody finds a home early, go ahead and have this. But just keep in mind, like, until we find that home, this card's not really going to be doing much. And then the last one is Goatee. I figured I'd throw it out there. I felt bad. I felt like I'd get a lot of comments saying, "Where's Goatee? Where's Goatee?" I'm sorry, guys. I don't see it. I don't think it's good enough yet. I still don't think it's good enough. Support's fun. Support's cool. But this deck stinks, man. I don't know. Until I actually start seeing this deck consistently get like regional or higher tops, I'm not really going to fully believe in it. But yeah, we'll throw it on the wait list. Wait till it's good. But yeah, that's everything I had from the core set, basically, in terms of how applicable I think it is and what I think you should scoop up now. Let me know your thoughts down below. Is there anything you think should be ranked higher that I'm underestimating, overestimating? Anything I just missed straight up that you think should be on this list somewhere? Let me know your thoughts down below. And also let me know where you land on Phantom Nightmare as a whole. Are you excited for it? Are you terrified of the Snake Eye stuff? Let me know your thoughts down below on that as well. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.